Welcome to the Non-Essential Podcast. I'm Steve Gibson.
I'm Ben Matlock, I guess.
You know, and you make fun of me for it every week, and I tried specifically not to do it this week, and I think I avoided it, but I have that tendency to be like, I'm Steve Gibson or Steve Gibson. Like, I draw out a syllable. Now I'm starting to fucking do...
Steve Gibson.
I'm starting to fucking do that when I answer the phone at work. Like... I either need to quit work or quit the show because they're bleeding into each
I wish
other.
I had the confidence to do something silly when I answer the phone. Like, my brother answers the phone. He always answers it, Muska.
Okay.
After the skateboarder, Chad Muska.
Oh, yeah.
Because in Tony Hawk Underground, there's a cutscene where he answers the phone and he's like, Muska, chillin'. Yes.
Okay.
And for some reason, my brother adopted that.
The Muska I can respect. If you say chillin' afterwards, sorry, you just...
He doesn't say chillin'. My brother just does Muska. In a very, like, talk kind of way.
See, that's what I wish I had the confidence for. So it's like assholes that answer the phone, they're just like, they either just like talk or like, Gibson.
What? That's how I answer it.
Well, that's kind of how, if it's somebody I know, like my parents or my wife, I've been known to answer it what, because they all know how much I hate phone calls. And if you catch me and I'm already in a bad mood, that's the answer you're going to get.
I don't know. If somebody, I turn into like your mother if you answer the phone that way. Like, don't you talk to me that way.
That's fine. I won't hang up. See,
yeah.
Check in, fucking mate.
Fuck
bitch.
you, man. I got all this pizza and you're not getting any. I only call people with good news. If it's bad news, I send a text and block your number.
I've specifically bought burner phones to send bad news texts before.
It's like Breaking Bad. Just, hey, I think the dishwasher broke.
Whose number is this? Stop texting.
No questions. Welcome to the show. Hi, everyone. This is the Non-Essential Podcast. I'm leaning back in my chair right now, so you can tell I don't give a shit. It's gonna come out of my voice, like, because you know all that air from your diaphragm. None of it exists for me anymore. I'm basically laying down.
Yeah, see, I've heard a lot of things about, like, to improve, like, singing and speaking voice because I like to sing and I suck at it. And I don't like to talk, but I do a lot and I suck at it. And it's always like, yeah, speak and sing from the diaphragm. It's like, well, I, like, drill a hole in my diaphragm before I have to talk so the air just leaks out. Does that work? Like, well, how is you guys?
You will whipper-snapper.
That voice actually has way more character than my actual voice, so maybe I should go with it.
Yeah, I barely. It's weird. I'll have usually a couple beers in, I'll learn how to talk again, but most of the time it's like I feel like if I actually speak with my diaphragm, I'm wasting that air. So I only use the bare minimum to get sounds out. That's why after everything I say, people go like, what? Yeah, it's because I'm a chronic mumbler.
Me too. But I get accused of that. I feel like I'm screaming all the fucking time. Like,
totally.
Like my throat is like physically like tired from talking and everybody's like, what? You need to talk up. It's like, I don't fucking know how to talk any louder. Like,
I've had days at work where I've literally said like good morning and that's it, and I've come home and my voice is tired, and then usually we have to do the show.
Yeah, so I don't get it. People say that a lot, and now I think my wife is like, her hearing's going too, and so so
what'd you say? You fucking...
She's always like, oh, you need to talk louder. I'm like, I literally screamed. I think the neighbor heard me.
So you're you think you're like a fucking thrash metal singer, and all they're hearing is...
Excuse me, pardon me, are you listening? I think mine is like more enunciation than volume, but I don't know how to like improve that.
You're like, it's like trying to slowly exhale a breath and you're just moving your mouth around that one breath to like generate just enough sound to technically count as a sentence.
Like, I try to move my tongue as little as possible because that's exhausting. You know, I don't really open my, like, jaws because that's exhausting. So it's just, like, one of these things where you're, like, talking like Bob Dylan or something. Man.
So look forward to at least 30 minutes of that today.
Yeah, because it's my turn.
Yeah. We tell each other stories. I don't know if we said that, but we do. We try to.
Yeah. We try very hard, or sometimes not very hard at all, but we generally accomplish our goal.
Well, I'm batting 150. I hit some.
Look, I'm 40. What I've learned in life is just set the bar as low as possible. That way you cross it and go, hey, I did it.
We are the AA minor league of podcasting.
That said, and we've talked about how stupid and hypocritical it is of us to criticize any show, given ours. But man, like at work lately, I've been trying to find stuff to listen to, and podcasts are perfect because most of them I don't care that much about because I need just like noise, but it needs to be something that if I'm like working and I like zone out and miss part of it, it's not a huge deal. That's why I can't listen to like audiobooks and stuff because you'll be sitting there and realize I just missed that whole last chapter. I've got to go back. So I've been like just kind of going through just random podcasts, mostly true crime stuff because that's, whatever. And there's so many fucking bad ones. I was kind of talking about it on Twitter today. Like, you'll get, we cover a lot of true crimes, and there's the kind of stories that we cover in 30 minutes where I feel like I don't know if this will be enough for a show, but let's do it. That some of these shows are doing as like a 14 episode season. And so they have to like pad it with so much irrelevant crap that you're just like, so there's one of the, and then like there's a lot of them, and maybe I do this. I haven't noticed it when I listen to our shows, but whatever, where it sounds like we've talked about like loud chewing and like lip smacking is one of my biggest pet peeves. And I swear some podcasters literally put their mouths on their microphones. And these are syndicated like shows I'm talking about, not stuff like me and you like in the basement doing it. And it's like, So I don't know. Maybe it made me feel a little bit better about our show, but
yeah, I mean, I think we're pretty good. I like that feeling. That's the only reason why I would do it for 180 hours.
I said that good feeling inside of me will go away after this in about a half an hour because this week I've got something a little kind of different. It's an original story, something that I wrote myself. But it's not really, it's kind of a horror story. It's not really a creepypasta. There's a little more to it.
I'll be the judge.
Yeah.
Creepypasta's not up to you, my friend.
No, what I'm saying by it's not a creepypasta is don't fucking share my work uncredited or credited. Like, we steal other people's stories all the time for our show.
I'm going to put it on my backup storytelling podcast where we're going to make fun of it.
No, next week you'll bring it. You're like, I found this creepypasta by some moron named Steve Gibson.
Yeah, there's some user named Phaser3D.
3D. And I'll go, shit, that guy sucks.
Oh my god, he rambles a lot.
I've met him before. He's a bigger douche in person. Anyway, so yeah, I've got an original story that I didn't give a title to because that's too fucking, hard.
Yeah. All creepypastas have titles. You're just setting yourself apart.
You're right. It's artistic. And you're going to get a kick here in a second, I think. Maybe I'll get this. My name is Andrei Zetsiev.
No,
Today is Wednesday. Yeah, I don't think that's what I spelled. Like, I gave myself a name I can't pronounce to start the story. Today is Wednesday, November 16th. I would like to say I'm writing this of sound mind, but honestly, I don't know anymore. I've been in the woods for about a week. For the past 3 days, I've been living a nightmare that I can't seem to wake up from. One way or another, this will all end tomorrow. I pray it won't end sooner than that. This is all my fault, I don't deny it, but it feels like an awful price to pay for one mistake. Should one moment of weakness and greed cost a man his life? Yeah, the answer to that's probably.
Yeah.
I'd grown up in nature and I'd seen these things for myself. What happens when man comes along and fucks with the balance? Maybe I do deserve this. Was it hubris that guided my hand? Did I think that I was somehow better than nature? Yeah, I think that was it. I am a man, and man thinks he's the head of all things, smarter, stronger, untouchable. But we're none of those things. I know that now, though perhaps too late. The expedition had been a success. 2 days in, I'd already bagged my legal limit, and even managed to catch a few fish on top of that. Though it was technically illegal, I knew I could probably spend the rest of the week trying to get a deer or two. The extra money would really help. Things had been tight. They kept it that way on purpose. When people get shipped out to this part of the world, it's meant to be a punishment. But those of us with wilderness skills could live fat and happy if they'd let us. The restrictions are meant to keep us in our place. In order to have restrictions, though, they needed somebody to enforce them. Siberian posts aren't particularly prized by the soldiers and government workers that had to fill them. As such, officials in charge of enforcing things like hunting quotas and bag limits don't tend to be particularly interested in doing so. As long as you're not doing anything stupid enough to draw attention to yourself or catch the eye of someone back home, they are generally happy to let you skirt the rules. For a small fee, of course, an extra deer here or there, well, that just means more meat for everybody. It is a small comfort in an otherwise minimal existence, and it helps. Yet the longing for something more never completely goes away. You don't live in Siberia, you survive in it.
So don't take this the wrong way, but you wrote this?
Yes.
I mean, we've done other stories from you, and I mean this as a compliment. This is pretty well done so far.
Well, that's not how you're supposed to respond to stuff on the show. That's not interesting.
I mean, I can't really follow it, but but you use a lot of floaty language.
Floaty language, yeah. I used a thesaurus as I was going.
Well done. It's the same as drawing. You use references.
There's information at the end that might enlighten you onto some of this, some of the reasoning why it's written the way it is. But yeah, we'll get there.
You stole it.
And
It's Ray Bradbury, isn't it?
It is. It is. Every third word I just deleted. So if you start you don't notice it, but now that I pointed it out, listen, you'll be like, wait a second, something's not right.
So
here.
you can't you've mentioned that guy on every episode. So this has all just been a trail of breadcrumbs leading to your busted.
I actually am Ray Bradbury. I faked my death.
I'm such a fan. He's my favorite author.
Read him, goddammit, you young kids. He's so good.
I would totally do that. I would just join Discord groups and be like, have you heard of this guy? He's so good.
That? I've come across that on Reddit where you'll be like, oh, this new book is awesome. And you'll have all these posts and it comes out that's that's the author.
I mean, yeah, that happens all the time. Like Amazon reviews. Mm-hmm. And stuff. Like, man, this book changed my life. And the book is called.
If you assholes buy it,
right? And the book is called "How Writing a Book Changed My Life" by Ben Matlock.
No, but it's never even that. It's this is one of the greatest works of literary art I've ever read, and the book's called something like "Billy Got Drunk Once," and it's what?
Freddie got fuckered.
You can't even get through the title without figuring out that the person's never written a professional sentence in their life, but the people are is this the greatest work of literature I've ever seen? I'm a little suspicious here.
All right.
Anyway.
Siberian hunter guy, what is it, a prison colony or something?
Well, Siberia, at the time, I mean, it's not really a prison colony. It's basically being exiled because you're in the middle of fucking nowhere.
So,
and there's nothing
Australia,
out there. And back at this time, there weren't really roads and stuff. There was a train track that would ship you all the way to the other side of the continent and drop you off in the middle of the snow and good luck, motherfucker. I mean, there was settlements and stuff, but and we'll get to it, but there's nothing necessarily physically keeping you there other than not having any means to get anywhere else. I think I think we all have kind of imagined how vast Siberia is, but it's really like, in reality, it's even vaster than that. And it's just awful, like, terrain, cold.
Well, let me pop your bubble. I haven't thought about Siberia at all in my life. Gotta do better than that.
Now we're here to change that. We're going to change the world one life at a time, starting with you.
You can't make me care. All right.
So occasionally you hear stories of people who manage to make it out, people who manage to find a score just big enough to buy them a ticket someplace else, anywhere else. Siberia is a prison without walls. The only thing keeping us here is distance and poverty. Find a way to earn some real money and you just may be able to slip away. Back home, maybe. Out of Russia, perhaps. It doesn't really matter where you go. Honestly, as long as it's not here. I'm rambling, I know, but if you're reading this, I think it's important for you to understand why I did what I did. Does it justify my actions? Maybe not. But I hope you can see how, in a moment of weakness, I pulled the trigger and perhaps ended my life. It was Monday. I had spent the morning slowly exploring the valley northwest of my hut. I was following a fresh set of tracks, a deer. It was clear that the animal was moving erratically and with urgency, and it didn't take me long to figure out why. From above it, among the brush, I came across a second set of prints. Plate-sized depressions, though remarkably shallow given the fresh snow. An inverted heart nearly as big as my outstretched hand, crowned by 4 well-spaced ovals. It was a tiger on the prowl. My first instinct, the correct instinct, was to head the other way. Quickly and quietly. The beast was clearly looking for a meal, and if the deer had managed to get away, I might be the next best thing. But then I saw the 2 tracks converge, the blood, the disturbed snow, and the broken branches, as the 2 creatures collided. The deer had managed to escape the initial ambush, but with that amount of blood that it had spilled, I knew it hadn't made it far. The elements were in my favor. Since I'd been following the tracks, I had the same advantage that the tiger had on the hapless deer. Elevation, wind, cover. My instincts kicked in. Just ahead, through a clearing, I saw it. A tuft of orange fur speckled with fresh snow. The cat was huge. It was also completely oblivious to my presence, thank God.
It was also a bear.
It was standing over the carcass saying, "It's great. It's great." As I lifted my rifle, my mind was racing. Getting the carcass back to my hut would be no small feat. Was there anybody I could trust to help me? Taking an extra deer was one thing, killing a tiger another. It wasn't something a casual bribe could solve. Killing tigers is a spiritual taboo as well. An honest hunter wouldn't risk getting involved out of superstitious fear as much as the fear of the law.
Does that count if it's self-defense?
You gotta trust a jury of your peers to find it self-defense. Like, it's gonna depend on.
It's pretty believable to me that you would defend yourself against a tiger.
No, you just say "shoo tiger" and then say, "No, I'm a boot tiger," and then kill you because it was a dad joke tiger. But I don't know. I lost my train of thought here. Okay, yeah, no honest hunter would risk getting involved. That's precisely what makes the tiger carcass so valuable. Not only are they both physically and socially dangerous to hunt, they are also difficult to sell. Harvesting a tiger is exceedingly rare, but also very lucrative for those who manage to get away with it.
It'll fetch a fine price.
Basically, that's what... He stood up and said that, and it was like, fuck, I hope it didn't hear me.
It's like the fucking dude in The Mummy. He's like the slave trader or whatever, and he goes to the tomb with him, and he picks a scarab off the wall, and he's like, this will fetch a fine price. And then a scarab pops out of it and goes into his body. It's exactly like that.
Exactly, pretty much.
Except replace that with a tiger and and a plot.
Yeah, but no Brendan Fraser, so that kind of cancels out any advantages the story has.
Yeah, there's still time. You could hire
I
him.
was going to say, if I don't describe the protagonist at all, if you want to picture Brendan Fraser as a protagonist.
Oh, I love Brendan Fraser.
Picture him as a tiger, not the protagonist. Like, that'd be funnier. Like, just like, not even like a good CG tiger. Like, it's just Brendan Fraser with like orange face paint.
No CG at all.
Yeah, just going raw.
Do what you can with makeup. We're on a budget.
We know he performs his own stunts, so.
He
I
goes,
don't know what
whoa.
that has to do with anything. Yeah.
That's the stunt.
I'm rambling again, I know it. My mind is a blur, and if you keep reading, I think you'll excuse it. As I lined up the shot, I tried to think about what my next steps would be. Didn't I know someone who had once spoken of an acquaintance who frequently smuggled goods into China? I dare not say the name here.
Somebody told me that you had a boyfriend who looked like a girlfriend who could sell a tiger for a hefty
as soon
sum.
as you said somebody told me, I'm like, he better fucking say that line. I am so glad you did.
I don't know why I thought of it. I haven't heard that song in years.
No, but it's a fucking banger. I love that song. Killers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good band. I was nervous and quite distracted when I finally pulled the trigger. As I did, the barrel swayed ever so slightly. The shot missed the beast's heart and instead grazed the massive muscles grouped around its
hit
shoulder.
my heart.
Fuck, that was way off.
As I lined up the shot.
As I lay dying, I remembered...
backwards.
Yeah, exactly. As I lay dying, I remembered the words my dad used to always repeat. Son, quit fucking holding the gun backwards, you idiot.
Please, son, you have proven you can't think about two things at once. If you're gonna shoot, please only think about shooting.
Shooting. The roar chilled my blood and shook my bones. The huge cat turned towards me, but before it could charge, I managed to fire a second and third shot. I don't know if either of those shots connected. I don't think they did, but they were enough to drive the animal back up the other side of the valley where it disappeared into the trees. My hands were still shaking as I propped myself up. I knew better than to turn my back and run. If the tiger was still around, the last thing I wanted to do was present myself as fleeing prey. I clumsily reloaded my gun and tried to stand tall as I walked slowly in the other direction. I know that works with bears. I don't know how well that would work with a tiger. I don't think I'd stand tall. I think I would just, like, piss my pants and run. Like,
I thought the thing with tigers was, like, you just don't turn your back on them. Like, they want to
I think that's true
stalk.
with a lot of predators.
And, like, they want to stalk and they want to get you from behind.
Yeah.
And if you're kind of facing them or whatever, it's like... I don't know why the fuck... I just watch YouTube videos. How the fuck would I know what to do about a tiger? Why am I still talking?
Bushwhacker Ben here with your tiger advice of the day.
I'm telling you, you tip your boomerang in a little bit of tuna fish and you hurl that sumbitch.
And then you go, fuck, that was my boomerang. It comes right back to you. You're screwed.
Yeah.
Jallywagger.
That's a myth. Boomerangs don't actually come back.
They never have when I throw them.
They don't love me enough.
It's possible I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I think it's that they don't actually work. It's a myth that is...
I think it's just a very impractical... If you want something to come back to you, put a string on it.
That's the thing is, I don't think they've ever worked. I think Australia started that rumor just to watch us idiot Americans like throw curved sticks.
Well, I think they come back a little bit, so maybe you don't have to run as far to get them. But, hit your target.
Well, yeah, that's the key.
And if you hit it, then it's not coming back.
And if you miss it, you're chasing the target down, so you're not going to be there to catch it when it comes back anyway. So I don't really understand the utility, honestly. Yeah. But anyway, I clumsily reloaded my gun and tried to stand tall as I walked slowly in the other direction. With each step, I listened for anything that might indicate the tiger was still near. By late afternoon, I had made my way about 10 kilometers south of the valley. My limbs ached as the tension and fear finally began to subside. I cursed myself for being so stupid. That night, I made camp and tried to settle in. In the morning, I'd begin making my way back home. I didn't get much sleep that night as I huddled just a little closer to the fire than normal. My blood still felt the effect of the day's adrenaline rush. My ears strained at the stillness of the night, listening for anything out of the ordinary. My eyes played tricks on me in the darkness as ghosts and shadows seemed to dance around the camp. When the sun finally rose high enough to spill out over the fresh powder of snow, my heart stopped. Fresh prints snaked out from the trees and completely encircled my camp.
They seemed larger than I remember. Prince.
Yeah, Fresh Prince. He's like, yo, Uncle Phil, fuck, wrong camp. I'm supposed to be in Bel Air, not Siberia, my bad.
Fresh Prince of Siberia.
His mom got really scared, and they're like, Bel Air not good enough.
Yeah, tigers are way safer than the hoodlums in Philadelphia.
I also saw Carlton off in the distance. That was way more terrifying.
That would be scary, Carlton, just dancing in the middle of Siberia. I would shit my pants. I would unironically creepypasta shit my pants.
I think you're right when I think about that, because if you're in the middle of the wilderness like that and see a giant tiger, that's fucking terrifying. It's a giant tiger, but it's kind of not really expected, but it makes sense because they live there. If you're in the middle of Siberia in the 70s, no less, I think that's when I said the story was, and all of a sudden there's Carlton doing the Carlton. That's not supposed to be there. That's fucking terrifying. Because at that point, something supernatural is going on. A tiger's just a tiger, but Carlton, that's a demon, clearly. Anyway, the prince seemed larger than I remembered, and there was an obvious limp. The tiger had circled at least a dozen times before slinking back off into the woods. The closest footprints were no more than 20 yards away. I packed my gear in a hurry. It would take 2.5 days to hike to my hut. Spending another night in the wilderness didn't sound appealing, so I made the decision to veer off course and head for Vanya Laskin's village. Vanya was a fellow hunter. He and I went way back. He would surely put me up for a night or two. Tigers tend to avoid people, at least when they're not hunting them.
Yeah, when it's not a fight.
Right.
Tigers have a way if they're threatened that they latch on. They get really clingy.
Yeah. Also, when they just think you're kind of like cute, it's a thing. The tiger's like, yeah, you shot me, but like, can I have your number? They tend to avoid people. I was sure that if I could make it to Vanya's village, the thing would give up and go home. That was all assuming I could make it to the village in the first place. I couldn't shake the feeling that the cat was still nearby, watching me, waiting for the chance to pounce. The wound in its limp must have been just enough to make the cat more cautious than it likely needed to be. Maybe that hesitation would be the thing that would let me survive, but I felt like at any moment something might trigger an attack. I also knew that the thing could charge any time it wanted to, and I probably wouldn't have been able to stop it. Let me tell you, knowing there's a danger lurking just beyond your reach that can at any point spring into action, mine just isn't built to endure that. For 7 hours, every step I took could have been my last. By the time I made it to the village, my wits were gone. Vanya seemed happy to see me, yet my arrival did little to ease my mind. That morning I had convinced myself that if I could only make it to some sort of civilization, the creature would end up giving up and leave me alone. Now I had no such hope. I tried my best to act normal, though it was clear to everyone that something was wrong. I didn't say a word about the tiger. I was ashamed to admit that I had committed one of the worst sins a hunter in this land could make. Tigers are sacred, and I had tried to kill one. This punishment was mine and mine alone. Besides, what good would come of telling Vanya or any of the others about the cat? They'd either think I was insane, or worse, they'd try to go out and drive it off. What chance would they have against a vengeful god?
If I couldn't do it.
Right. I didn't get much sleep. Even from within the thick timber walls and barred door of Vanya's hut, I didn't feel safe. I couldn't hear it or see it, but I knew it was still out there, pacing, angry, hungry for my blood. I left early the next morning. In order to travel faster and lighter, I abandoned my game just outside the village. I couldn't even entertain the dim hope that the cat would choose to gorge on it instead of me. At first, I felt like I was flying. However, the lack of sleep and lack of food quickly caught up to me. By noon, I realized I'd made a grave mistake. I was too far to turn back, but I'd never be able to keep going through the night. The tiger is getting bolder. I no longer wondered if I was hearing footsteps behind me. They were clear. At times, I could hear its massive lungs filling and emptying with a low growl. When the breeze shifted, I'd catch whiffs of dried blood and damp fur. I never once spotted the beast. I gave up trying to aim my rifle at it. If I guessed where the beast was and was wrong, it would surely spring out and finish me off. And if I guessed right, I didn't think that'd make much difference, honestly. I had planned on continuing through the night, but my legs burned and my muscles ached. If they gave out and I showed signs of weakness, it would surely mean death. I knew that I had another hour of good daylight, but coming upon a nice-sized clearing, I thought it would be better to go ahead and make camp. I made a fire, and then another, and finally a third.
The writing isn't bad, but this story is paced like a fucking Survivor Man episode. It's like I'm expecting, and then I pulled out the harmonica.
Okay, yeah. I took a piss and spelled my name just in case the tiger didn't like,
And if a tiger's really strong, you can always use your urine.
Yeah. If you pissed all over yourself, though, maybe that would ruin the taste, and they'd be like, oh, I don't want that fucking guy.
Yeah,
he's covered in piss.
Yeah, they won't. I'm sure when they're mauling you, they won't hit the bladder. They're very selective.
Selective, yeah. Anyway, I made a third with just enough space for me to lay inside the triangle they formed without being roasted alive. That was 6 hours ago. It's been 5 hours since I last thought I heard the cat. In fact,
1 week since she looked at me.
Yeah, this is all really a big rickroll of like all the songs from my generation. Yeah.
Every sentence is the start of a song lyric.
Damn it. I am going to have to do that now. That'll be my next, not next turn, because that's going to take some time, but yeah.
That'd be so hard to do. To do one coherent plot with just
fuck coherent. Like, when has anything we ever done been coherent?
Fair point.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun challenge. It sounds fun until I get 3 sentences in and go, no, fuck this. Like,
who likes creepypastas? It's like every idea we have. That's the wall it hits. The idea part's good. The fact that it's ours is where it falls short.
Well, and also, like, the idea of me doing it, somebody who listens to basically 99% Foo Fighters, so, like...
So you're just telling the story of Foo Fighter albums.
Right. Anyway, it's been 5 hours since I thought I heard the cat. In fact, this is the first time in days that I don't feel like the creature is prowling just out of sight. It has left. I can feel it. I've been fighting the part of my mind that keeps saying that perhaps the beast has concluded my punishment. That idea that it never really wanted to kill me for my trespass. Lord knows it could have done so many times over already. But that it only wanted to make a point.
Put a little scare in you.
Wanted to make me suffer. To make a point, one that I would definitely not forget. A darker part of me thinks it has something more sinister in store. That's why I'm writing this journal. If I don't make it home alive, let these pages serve as a warning for others. For anyone as weak and as greedy as I was, don't make the same mistake I made. Don't upset the balance of nature. And never feel like you're above it, rather than just another part of it. You are but an insect in a giant's world. My head is heavy and I can no longer focus.
Don't shoot a tiger when you're really fucking broke. Yes. It's a weird moral, not gonna lie.
Don't leave your damn bazooka at home. If I had only had that. My head is heavy. I can no longer focus. I think I'll go to sleep. By midday tomorrow, I will make it home. Or I won't. Regardless, this nightmare will end. Good night for now.
I like how you delivered that, or I won't. It's like there's this chef, these videos are on YouTube, and I think he's a Food Network guy. I might have talked about him before, but he always talks about things like, and you can add some garlic, or not, or you can...
A lot of people
And
Man,
you can make the popcorn this way, or do it your way, or go fuck yourself.
I say we run a very real danger of going off on like a 3-hour tangent here because I love cooking and I know you cook. A lot of people get so like annoyed at that, like when you watch a cooking show or there's a recipe that's like very loose like that, because a lot of people really want to like the exact amounts and the exact directions and this and stuff.
Yeah,
but a lot of cooking isn't that. Like baking and stuff can be because and there's certain things that are very exacting, but a lot of it's just like if you like garlic, add more garlic. If you don't, leave it out.
But that's not. Yeah, I agree, but that's not what he's doing. Yeah, because like cooking is, it's like recipes are just kind of guidelines. Because you could do a recipe verbatim and it won't be as good as like what you decide to shift about it. Because tastes are subjective. What this guy is doing is almost like explaining a recipe and then letting you know you don't have to cook it to begin with. Like incrementally throughout then you can serve it on a plate or shove it in the trash. It's your choice.
To me, I'm getting the vibes like that I have, where you grew up with zero self-confidence and still have it. So it's like, I'm going to give you the video here. I hope you like it, or don't. I don't care. And it's like you really do care, but you're like trying to play it off.
It's not even like there is a confidence to it. It's a total like you could do it my way, or go fuck yourself. It's like it's a very weird like don't waste my time, or do.
He would be an interesting chef to work for, probably.
Absolutely. So
anyway, that was end of the journal.
All right.
Sasha put down the bloodied pages and looked up at Vanya. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Despite the fire burning in the hearth, the men felt cold, sunken. Vanya was still shaking from the horrible scene they'd discovered just 30 meters from Andrei's front door. There was no body, or at least not enough of anything that you could call a body. There was one boot, with Andrei's foot still inside, a piece of his parka, black with blood, the discarded rifle, with a round still in the chamber, Andrei's rucksack, and a lot of tiger tracks. Andrei had almost made it home when the tiger pounced. He didn't stand a chance. The tiger took its time. It appeared to have stuck around for days, leaving only enough of Andrei for anyone who came along to know what happened.
That is the most, like, appropriate bad luck. Like, we were right there. Fuck. We were almost home. Right.
I identify with this character quite
absolutely.
Like, and the whole, like, apocalyptic, defeatist, almost like suicidal attitude that he had, and then to get, like, you can see your front door, and that... And even then, you wouldn't let yourself feel hope until you could, like, get that close. You're like, oh, fuck, I'm home. Like, God damn it.
Of course you would be waiting for me.
Yeah. The tiger took its time. It appeared to stuck around for days, leaving only enough of Andrei for anyone who came along to know what happened. According to the journal, that was nearly a month ago.
So scrapping a lot of human emotion to a tiger attack. Let them know what I did.
Andrei,
I left that foot there.
Andrei had been acting weird when he stopped by the village, and when nobody saw and heard from him since, Vanya grew worried. But nobody expected to find what these two men had found. Sasha let out a long, shaky breath and wiped the tears from his eyes. In the morning, they'd carefully wrap Andrei's foot and boot and give what was left of their friend a proper burial. And then they would leave, and they would never come back. And so that's the end of my story.
You gotta feel a little dumb, like, burying a foot.
Well, but, like, I guess the alternative is, like, you throw it in the trash can. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe burn it. I don't know. It just seems weird to do, like, a whole thing for just a foot.
Yeah, but if you burn it, that's not only, like, the smell of, like, burning carcass, but it's a foot carcass. It's like,
I'm sorry. I thought we were, respecting our friend here.
So... The only other thing I have to add to this story is it's actually a true story. Sort of. It actually happened. It actually happened to a hunter not named Andrei. I don't think it was something I read a while ago. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to write it up as like a like I said, almost a creepypasta thing. But
so it's a fictional story based off of a nonfiction story you don't remember.
I do remember. It was called The Tiger, A True Story of Vengeance and Survival, by John Valliant.
Well, less survival, right?
True. And it literally did, like, I'm not taking the liberties I took were like, this guy is like personal, camping out, and like his journal, like I don't think he had a journal that I can remember it, but
How I Made It by Abraham Lincoln.
It was actually a dude who shot a tiger, and the tiger lived and stalked him for fucking days, and then found his hut and waited for him to get back. And it was a lot longer. In my story, it was like 2 days. In the actual story, it was like 2 or 3 weeks between when he shot the tiger and when he returned to his hut, and the tiger was waiting and ambushed him. And it's fucking creepy because, like, this tiger, and vengeful apparently, and smart. We know a lot of big animals are actually pretty smart. But yeah, it's 100% true in that regard. And it's a very good book. Although it's one of those, the story itself, like I just kind of did, could be told relatively quickly. The book is cool because it kind of goes on, and it does explain a lot about like what Siberia was like politically, and what you brought up kind of, and the story mentions it, about like a lot of people being exiled basically out there, and the kind of life that they had to live and the hardships. And then it goes on to talk about the tigers and how they're endangered. I don't think the Siberian tiger is extinct yet, but I know it's really fucking close. And a lot of it has to do with hunting because of,
probably because they spend more time trying to
stalking,
fuck people
just to get
up.
revenge than eating. Yeah. So anyway, that's my story. I guess if I had to give it a title, I'd call it The Tiger.
Yeah, that was good.
But I also highly recommend, if you're into like true stories like that and kind of nature stuff, because like I said, a lot of it's more talking
Why'd I recommend writing it as if you made it up?
Made it.
If you really like stories, take credit for them.
Good for it. Yeah. And wait till the end to give credit when people have quit listening.
Yeah.
So that everybody's like, man, that tiger story Steve wrote started out good and went downhill fast. I guess not good. It started out kind of flowy and literary, and then it was just like, and then he walked to snow and died.
And then he walked to snow. That's the title.
In my defense, that's half my writing and half this IPA I'm drinking while I'm reading it.
Huh, it helps.
But,
well, good shit. Yeah, I don't know. I still maintain Burn the Foot.
Burn the Foot. Now that's a fucking punk band name.
Thank you. It absolutely is.
Now I wish I could remember the other band. I remember the shirt. Oh, no, I don't.
Limey Peppermint Bastards.
Yeah. Burn the Foot's opening for him.
Yeah, on tour. In like some shitty alleyway behind your favorite bar.
Yeah. Well, that's the best venue for a show anyway.
The ones you make in a drug-filled depression alley.
If you don't run the risk of stepping on a hypodermic needle while in the mosh pit, then you're in the wrong show.
Yeah. The risk, the thrill.
The thrill, yeah.
It could be for diabetes. It could be for a lot worse things.
That's something I wanted to start doing. I know you've gone to a lot of, different genres of music, but a lot of those shows that are in like small venues, bars, small clubs, that kind of stuff. And like a couple years ago, I was like, you know what? Columbus has a halfway decent music scene. I'm like, I should start going to some of these like smaller shows. Like I don't really have an interest, and I don't have the money to go to like big concerts where it's like, oh yeah, you can sit in the nosebleeds for just $250.
Yeah.
But a lot of these bars, you can get into these shows for, $10, $15, whatever. And so I like kind of made the resolve to like start going to some of these shows, and even some of the bands that I like, the smaller ones, it's like, oh shit, they're coming to Columbus. And then the fucking pandemic hit because Steve is not allowed to have any fun whatsoever.
So I went to a bunch of shows and shit just before the pandemic kind of cut me off. And And then it lightened up just in time for me to see another show. And now it's kind of back to like, you shouldn't go to shows.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't really know how you put the toothpaste back in that tube at this point.
I know. That's the thing, and I hate to even like say it because it shouldn't be. And then it makes me part of the problem too. But it's like, you feel like, why even bother trying? Because it's not going to fucking happen. Like,
I mean, there's definitely an exhaustion point with that. I still like mask up, like, you know, when I go out to like stores and stuff. But it's that thing of just like, you know, like once you remove that mandate, it's really hard to mandate it again. And
yeah, unless a bunch of bodies like. Unless it's like Black Plague levels of bodies in the street, but that's what we're trying to fucking avoid.
Right.
But,
and so it's just a tough situation. I don't know what the fuck you do about it.
Masks, I've decided, don't work. What I do, you know, they said 6 foot distance, so I've got my 6 foot pole, and then I just beat people with it. I
hug everyone. I'd be like, COVID doesn't stand a chance against love. Give me a hug.
Nothing stronger than love, man.
And that's why I'm going to court after this. So, if I survive my trial, we will be back next week with another story. Thank you for listening. I'm going to go lie down.
I'm already lying down, so goodbye.